This is the Tigers Postcast, your instant game reaction for the Detroit Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Oof, long day at the ballpark, and that's not what we had in mind for the way we wanted to end the doubleheader. Welcome into a live Locked On Tigers postcast. I am your host, Jake Riepma. You can follow me on Twitter at Jake_Riepma. And the Tigers dropped the second game of the twin bill to the Pittsburgh Pirates after a lengthy rain delay and extra innings, no less. 8-4, the final in this one. We'll go over the long day and the safe or out call in extra innings. Obviously, you know, that's where we're going with our turning point, because that looked like an out at the plate after a great throw from Kerry Carpenter to me, but we will discuss that as well. And hey, at the end of the day, it's a doubleheader split and a series win for the Detroit Tigers. Of course, I'll have my talking point, our turning point, and our player of the game. It's all next on a live Locked On Tigers postcast. But first, we remind you to like and subscribe the Locked On Tigers postcast with your daily Locked On Tigers show with Scott Bentley, and of course, the post reaction show with yours truly, Jake Riepma. It's all free and it's all available to you on the Locked On Podcast Network, as well as YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. So buckle up, dial it in, let your comments be heard. Hey, if you stayed up this late and you waited through the rain delay, you deserve to have your comment read. So go ahead and fire up that comment box and we will break down game number 2 of the Locked On Tigers postcast, or on the Locked On Tigers postcast, after the Tigers fall to the Pittsburgh Pirates. Now, beginning with, it seems like forever ago that Paul Skeens was on the mound and the Pirates got off to that early 4-0 lead after 3 innings of play. And that's not even the biggest talking point in this one, because obviously when a game goes to extra innings and you have a bang play that is reviewed and the call is upheld, that's going to be the biggest talking point.
This is what you'll be talking about.
All right, extra innings. And if you've watched the show once, if you watched it 100 times, you know I hate the ghosty runner. It's so silly. I mean, I'm going to struggle to be articulate for a second here and find ways to say why I hate starting an inning with the runner on second. You want to do it after 12 innings? Sure, I understand. Get the game over with. But the starting the game in the 10th inning with a runner on second, it just feels so artificial to me. It just feels so gimmicky. But nonetheless, the Pirates start the inning with a runner on second. They get the single, and Pham slides in at home on a bang play. Carpenter makes a great throw. The tag looks like it's applied. And I thought Jason Benetti and Andy Dirks made some interesting points as this play was being reviewed, that on one angle, it looks like the contact is made from Dylan Dingler and the tag applied to Tommy Pham before he makes contact with home plate, which would obviously result in him being out. And the other angle, you can't necessarily tell for sure if there's contact with the glove to the forearm, and then you start sounding like an NFL referee after a challenge play was there unequivocal evidence? Is it inconclusive, and every other big word that people like to use? And at the end of the day, I think the umpiring crew just felt like there wasn't enough to overturn it. And I got to give a lot of credit to the Comerica Park crowd, which also, that could be a whole talking point in and of itself, because I'm not sure if you saw the viral video yet of the Pirates relief pitcher Santana taking a swing at one of the Tigers fans in the bullpen area. I don't know who first posted it, but Dennis Santana jumped up and tried to take a swing at I think it was a Tigers fan. Somebody's got to help me out with that, because they had a yellow jersey on, but it looked like a Detroit hat on. So somebody's got to help me out with that. I have no idea, but this game really had it all. And as the final out was made and I was getting ready to hop on the live post-game show, I just, there's a million different things to cover in a short amount of time. And it's like when you say, you know, go home, you're drunk. This game was drunk. This game was intoxicated. This game was inebriated. There's just too many twists and turns in this game. And not to mention, it was the second game of a doubleheader, so everybody's already drained. But maybe I was the only one that felt that way. But I think as we morph our talking point segment here, there's a lot to talk about with this game. But at the end of the day, yes, that was the one run that gave the Pirates the lead 5-4, but the floodgates kind of opened after that, obviously, with 3 more runs in the top half of the 10th inning, ultimately with the Pirates earning the win and getting a split in the doubleheader. So that being said, look, 162 games. I give the crowd at Comerica Park a lot of credit. I mean, they were into it and they were booing. AJ Hinch gets ejected after the call, and he knew it. He runs out of the dugout, and that always leads to an ejection. And Benetti and Dirks talked about that too. And you just had pandemonium. I mean, and then there was that O'Neal Cruz's last at bat. It was Tommy Pham once again getting into it with a fan from the on deck circle. I mean, honestly, if you stuck around at Comerica Park, I guess you got your money's worth, because it was certainly entertaining. Obviously, you would have loved to see the Tigers come home with a win. But it was one of those games where you're reviewing everything you happened. You're like, oh yeah, that happened. And then what feels like 5 hours earlier, Colt Keith tomahawks a 2-run homer on a ball that was 4 feet out of the strike zone and somehow ties this game. So really had a lot of twists and turns. And I guess if nothing else, you got your price of admission for the entertainment value in this one. But lots of comments to get to, that's for sure. And that's the great thing about the Locked On Tigers postcast, the live Locked On Tigers postcast, is that we are in a collaborative program here. So we begin with Mark, who says still in a weather delay. Oh, that must have been an old comment. No producer here, nobody screening these comments. So my apologies. Drum says Pham talking smack to fans when he's hitting a $194 with a 497 OPS. Very true. All right. Rufus T. Cat agrees with me. I'm really sick of the second base runner thing. Absolutely. It's just, I mean, there's a reason they don't do it in the playoffs, is because it's gimmicky. It's not baseball. And call me old man yelling at clouds, call me get off my lawn guy, but it's just so silly to start an inning with a runner on second. So, all right. DT Lion says Tigers versus umps. Yeah, I did like the Comerica Park crowd getting I think it was you suck chant, but anybody that was at the game can let me know on that. All right, Brett Sullivan with an interesting comment here. I think the MLB is mad that the Tigers are the best team in baseball and not their precious Yankees or their precious Dodgers, and they're taking it out on the Tigers. That's an interesting theory. I mean, yeah, when you start to think about, what do the Tigers bring as far as a national allure or a brand, if you will. You got Tarek Skubal from a star player perspective, but I've said this with some of my colleagues at 105.3 The Fan, that aside from Tarek Skubal, most average baseball fans could name maybe 3 or 4 players on the Tigers. Riley Green, Spencer Torkelson, because he was a former number 1 overall pick, Javi Baez, because of his success with the Cubs and earlier in his career with the Mets. But other than that, who are you naming as Kerry Carpenter, because he had, some big moments in the postseason last year, but really, this is a band of misfit toys, and the Tigers wouldn't want it any other way. I mean, that's part of the heart and soul of what makes Detroit, in any sport, in any team, and just as a city overall, Detroit versus everybody. And I know that's something that this team embodies and really takes to heart when they go out there day in and day out. So I think there's some truth to that from Brett Sullivan. Herder, not his best night tonight, as Thomas Rotondi points out. Indeed, yeah, kind of got away there at the end. He gives up 3 earned runs in that top half of the 10th, the 1 walk that was intentional, but just kept he got a couple of ground balls trying to get that double play, but the ground balls were in the hole. And unfortunately, sometimes the baseball gods are just not on your side. All right, Jim and Denise says Javi has been too good not to get in the game. The second scheme was removed. Yeah, interesting there. Somebody sent me on Twitter, and I should probably pull it up, but just exactly how bad Trey Sweeney has been over the course of the last several days, and even further. So his last 80 at-bats in 30 games, this is Trey Sweeney's numbers. He just has 13 hits in 80 at-bats, so not good. He's 4 for his last 29, also not good. Just not really bringing that production to the table that you would want to see from your shortstop. That's for sure. All right. Demetrius McNeil is up next. An opportunity to sweep the Pirates was thrown out the window. At least the Tigers won the series 2-1. Ghost Runner has got to go. I think we're all in agreement. Look, we all hate the Ghost Runner. I mean, and why wouldn't you? You know, that's it's just a gimmicky thing. But back to the beginning of this game, I felt like the Tigers could have done more with Paul Skeens walking 5 guys. I mean, that's a career high number of walks for Paul Skeens. I don't think he had his A-plus stuff, and to not really get to him at any point, there was traffic, they were threatening, but never really that big breakthrough moment offensively, I think ultimately ended up costing the Tigers. But hey, we got to keep the lights on here on Locked On Tigers Postcast, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with our player of the game, our turning point, and of course, we will tie a bow on it and look ahead to the Tampa Bay Rays next on a live Locked On Tigers Postcast. Hey, this episode of the Locked On Tigers Postcast is brought to you by Trade Coffee. That's right. Listen up. Your morning is important. Getting off to a good start. That's critical. It is vital. And let's be real. Coffee isn't just a drink. It's a ritual. It's a lifeline. It's the thing that gets you from half asleep to fully functioning. And if it's that essential, you can't settle for anything less than amazing. And that's where Trade Coffee comes in. Trade is the #1 coffee destination in the United States, delivering fresh, incredible coffee from over 50 of the country's top roasters. So whether you're a cold brew fan, which sometimes hits in the middle of summer, or maybe you're a pour-over purist like myself, Trade has a roast that you'll love. Listen, I love Trade. I love coffee. It's important. And the first match, if it's not perfect with Trade, don't worry. They will replace it for free until they get that perfect brew just right and just for you. Right now, Trade is exclusively offering our customers 50% off your 1-month trial at drinktrade.com/lockedonmlb. That's drinktrade.com/lockedonmlb. That's TRADE.com/lockedonmlb for 50% off your 1-month trial. TRADE.com/lockedonmlb for 50% off your first month trial. Drinktrade.com/lockedon. This episode of the Locked On Tigers Postcast is also brought to you by Game Time. What time is it? It's game time. That's right, because it's concert season. Oh, yeah, it's baseball season. Have you ever decided at the last minute you want to head to a ball game with friends and family? Maybe it's game day and you suddenly realize, hey, I want to be in the stands. And that's exactly where Game Time comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last-minute tickets without the stress. And with the money you save on tickets, you can splurge on food, drinks, merch, or even invite a bigger group to come with you. At Game Time, they make it all possible. Game Time makes buying tickets fast and simple. Prices on the app actually drop the closer you get to first pitch, and they've got incredible last-minute deals. And what I love on the app, it's a clear seat view, so you know exactly the seat you're getting. And for the lowest price guarantee, yeah, that takes all the worry out of buying tickets. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply, but download the Game Time app, create that account, and use that code LOCKEDONMLB, LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Let's get right into it after the Tigers drop an 8-4 contest to the Pittsburgh Pirates in the second game of a doubleheader. Tigers still take 2 of 3, but the turning point in this one.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
Selfishly, I want to say the turning point when Tommy Pham slides in ahead of the throw, and after review, it looked like perhaps he could have been called out, because if he's called out there, totally different inning, and maybe the Tigers get back to bat in the 10th inning with a runner on second, and maybe they're only down 1. Maybe it's still a tie game. But you know what they say, if ifs were fifths, we'd all be drunk. And unfortunately, it just did not work out for the Tigers tonight. So the game turned at that point. You'd also make the case the game turned with the Colt Keith 2-run homer. I mean, this was a game that felt like being in a 4-0 hole with Paul Skeens on the mound. You are already fighting an uphill battle, but credit to the Tigers and the resiliency showed to come back and tie the game. But unfortunately, eventually it was the Pirates that were the last team standing. Now, let's get into our player of the game.
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
Honestly, not really a great candidate for this. I'm inclined to say Colt Keith, just with the clutch home run and the 2 RBI. Gleyber Torres had the 2 RBI hit as well, and Gleyber's been really steady. He was 1 for 4 tonight with the 2 RBI, but nobody for the Tigers really wowed in this one. In fact, I think the 5 walks, or 6 total, but 5 by Paul Skeens, and the inability to break open that big inning speaks volumes for what this Tigers team was unable to do today. So don't really have a great candidate for the player of the game on that side of things. If you're looking at the Pittsburgh Pirates, nobody for them really had a crazy night either. You had 2 RBI for a couple of different guys, but and Paul Skeens wasn't his best. I mean, 6 innings, sure, 2 earned runs, but with similar to Tarek Skubal, when you have such high expectations for a lot of these guys and they're not, lights out and just dominating, you start to think, well, maybe they're having a little bit of an off night tonight. So just a weird game that had everything. I mean, it had ejections, it had controversial calls, it had, a bullpen pitcher trying to scrap with a Tigers fan. I mean, it really had a lot going on. So that being said, hey, late night, everybody get some sleep. Weekend series in Tampa against the Rays. So they'll be playing at George Steinbrenner Field, the minor league park, and we'll see what the weekend brings. So appreciate everybody tuning in tonight to a live Locked On Tigers. You know the drill. Make sure you like and subscribe. Make sure you check out Locked On Tigers with Scott Bentley. And even though the Tigers lose the second game of the doubleheader, they split the doubleheader and take the series from the Pittsburgh Pirates. Still an MLB best, 20 games over 500. And hey, we will talk to you tomorrow after Tigers and Rays. Until then, have a wonderful night and see you next time on a live Locked On Tigers postcast.